trying to.
This is the Tristan Law Show. If it's your first time here, welcome. If you've been here before, welcome back. I'm Tristan Law, semi-retired pro wrestler, and today, I'm your host. You know, wrestling fans, let me go ahead and ask you something. Are we addicted to five-star matches, or have we forgotten how to feel something? Because as TNA gets ready to jump onto AMC in 2026, Matt Hardy, he didn't hold back. He said that TNA shouldn't try to out-AEW AEW. He said wrestling doesn't survive on moves, it survives in moments. And in this new era, TNA needs to focus on storytelling over match quality, or risk getting lost in the noise. Well, tonight, we're breaking this all down. Is Matt Hardy out of touch? Is he the only one telling the truth? And is this exactly the identity shift that TNA needs as they hit the biggest platform that they've had in years? We're going to talk about that today. And whether you're watching live or on demand, we're fully interactive, so I'd love to hear from you. We got a live poll going on as well, too. I want to hear exactly what you think. Let me know what you think. Because what you think, don't let anybody tell you anything about any place else. Because to me, what you think, it really matters. But to understand this, we have to start with where TNA is heading. Because AMC, they changed everything for TNA. So we talked about this last week, right? TNA is moving Impact to AMC, and they are calling it Thursday Night Impact. Obviously, that's smart. Bravo to them. You're branding it so that you know, no matter what, when you're watching it, that TNA is on Thursdays. Multi-year deal. It's going to be live starting January 15th, 9 to 11 Eastern. It's going to be able to watch on AMC Plus. That's all great. The significance, though, of this whole entire thing, like I said before, is that TNA's biggest TV footprint in over a decade. AMC themselves, they're known for prestige storytelling. You got The Walking Dead. You got Breaking Bad. You got all that. But then you had their boss, the president of TNA. He says that, listen to this. He said that we're competing with ourselves, not AEW. I want to give them a hand clap for that. The reason why I want to give them a hand clap for that is because I remember when TNA was trying to knock off WWE, and this was way back in the day when Jesus was a child. I'm talking about 2012 when Hogan was there. They were trying to knock off WWE. And the thing that I said last week, if you missed that episode, go ahead and check it out. We talk about TNA going with AMC in more detail, in more depth. But the thing that I said that TNA needs to do this time around, just stay in their lane. Just ride in your lane. Don't worry about what WWE is doing. Don't worry about what AEW doing. If TNA focuses on TNA will just be okay. TNA's strength, though, the thing that I say about TNA is that TNA is the in-between. It's the hybrid between WWE and AEW. WWE, they are really, and when I mean really, they are really good at storytelling. That's just what WWE does best. They go ahead and they tell you the stories. But when you go to AEW, what AEW gives you is they focus on the five-star matches. That is what the audience wants when they go to AEW. I mean, they want five-star matches. They want the Dave Meltzer treatment. That's exactly what they want. But TNA, they give you a little bit of both. They take a little bit from over there, and take a little bit from over there, and put it together and give you their product. Their strength is in their characters and their stories. And how this sets up Hardy's comments perfectly, that the company wants identity, not limitation. That's the thing with AEW when they first started. They had no identity. We didn't know what they were. We were trying to figure it out together. And that's the thing, is that when you're starting a business or a brand or whatever it is, you may think it's something else, but it could totally morph into something else different altogether. And that identity conversation is exactly why Matt Hardy said what he had to say. But I want to take a second to talk to you guys about something real quick. I want to talk about somebody I actually shared the ring with way back in the day. His name was Balls Mahoney, late great Balls Mahoney. I wrestled Balls in BWO way back in the day. And let me tell you this, the dude, he was chaos in the ring, but backstage, he was pure heart. And Balls Mahoney showed a guy like me, he showed me nothing like respect. Nothing but respect that brother there showed me. I lost it. There he goes. And I'll never forget seeing his son, Chris. That's his son, Chris, in the photo with him with the late Balls Mahoney. Chris used to run around the locker room. And now that same exact family who no longer has Balls Mahoney, they're struggling. Gail, his former partner, is in a wheelchair. And Chris is about to graduate while facing homelessness right before Christmas. So there's a GoFundMe to help them and find a safe place to live in. If you feel moved to help, the link is in the description. Even if you give $1, even if you give $1, put $1. Give what you can. I'm not asking you to donate because, you're rich. I'm just asking you, if you got $1 to give, go ahead and give that $1. It's better than nothing. Balls Mahoney gave this business everything, and I think this is our chance to go ahead and help his family out. All right, so we're back, and we're talking about the comments that Matt Hardy said about TNA, what TNA needs to do. He said that TNA needs to focus more on the storytelling and less on the 5-star matches in this new entire era. Look, TNA's got a brand new lease on life. Matt Hardy said on the Hardy on Extreme Life of Matt, here's some direct quotes from what he said. He said, Story over effing 5-star matches. That's way too overdone now. That's what AEW does for them. They said that AEW can have all those. That's their lane. TNA needs its own identity. That's what TNA needs. And the one quote that hit me the most is that people remember moments more than moves. Think about it. When you look at your favorite movie, you can recite your favorite movie word for word because you remember the moments. You remember how it made you feel. You might not remember, oh, well, this guy took 3 steps to the left and then he took 3 steps to the right. And then he said, you built a time machine out of a DeLorean? No, you won't remember that. But you definitely remember the first time you saw Einstein, Doc Brown's dog, travel back in time. So that's when I'm teaching people about wrestling, the wrestlers themselves. It's all about the stories. Even when you're doing a show just like mine, it's all about creating moments for the people. Because you're not going to remember every single word that I said. If you remember every single word that I said, you know what?
Thank you.
Because I don't remember every single word that I said. But there's certain moments that stand out, and that's what AEW, that's what TNA needs to do. They need to focus on creating moments in the ring. Match of the year every night, it doesn't work. My opinion, it kills what's supposed to feel special. That's what WWE does great. They may not give you the match of the night, but they may give you the story of the century and just progress the whole entire thing. Matt Hardy's philosophy, you can't choose match of the night every week. That's what he said. I agree. For me, when you can't chase the match of the night every week. For me, when I wrestled, it was always about focusing on doing the stories, because the moments that would get the people to want to come back and spend their money, that's what this whole entire thing is about. When you are watching pro wrestling, let me tell you something. We complain that the WWE is way too expensive right now. But what are people still doing? People are still going and giving their money to the WWE. Why? It's not because they have money to throw away. And look, wait, give me a second. If any of y'all out there just have money to throw away, holla at your boy. You can, call me 973-826-0101 or send me an email to tristanlawshowmedia@gmail.com. And I can take some of that money from you. Look, if you don't just want to give me money, go to the link in the description and buy some t-shirts. Buy a couple t-shirts. You know what? Burn them. Do whatever you want with them. But if you have extra money to give away, why not? But back to the thing that I'm saying is that when I was in the ring, it's all about those moments. It's a business. It's about making the people stand up off their couch, open their wallet, or use their phones and do the Apple Pay and purchase the tickets right then and there. WWE is charging top dollar for those tickets in this day and age. And how is WWE getting away charging top dollar for these tickets in this day and age? Because of the moments. You buy tickets. You buy tickets to WrestleMania. There's tickets on sale for WrestleMania right now. WrestleMania is less than 5 months away. And WrestleMania selling tickets, you have no clue who's going to be there. Right? Anybody can get hurt. Card is always subject to change. It is pro wrestling. But we are buying tickets to go see WrestleMania. The question is, why? It's the moments. You're chasing a moment. You're hoping to be there for a moment. Jess, co-host here on the Tristan Law Show, she's going to go see John Cena's retirement in D.C. on Saturday. Why? Because she wants to be there for the moment. That's something you could tell your grandkids, I was there when that John Cena retired. It's a moment. It's a moment that you get to be there for. Hey, what's up, Fernando? It's okay. Fernando says, what's up, Tristan? Sorry I'm late. Look, bro, sorry that I'm late. Look, I thought I was going to be able to be home in time to do the show with you guys at noon around lunchtime. But you know what? The day just got away from me. So I said, you know what? Why don't we just do it before AEW starts? We'll get it out. You can eat dinner while you're watching the Tristan Law Show. You can interact. You can do all of that. So, Fernando, I'm glad that you're here. What we are talking about is Matt Hardy quietly giving TNA the blueprint to win? Because what he said was that TNA should focus in this new era, that TNA should focus more on storytelling and less on 5-star matches. He's talking about, in my opinion, that TNA should probably go towards the angle of WWE and away from the angle of AEW. Fernando's different from me. Fernando dropped another comment in there. Here's what Fernando said. And that's what I like about the Tristan Law Show, is that we all come here with our different ideas and we put them together in a respectful way and we all debate them. Here's what Fernando said. Fernando says, I prefer good in-ring wrestling over moments. That's fine. For me, I generally prefer the moments. Like, I prefer moments like, I just watched, DX in Your House last night, and Stone Cold Steve Austin wrestled the whole entire Nation of Domination, came out in the big pickup truck. Like, for me, those are the moments that I remember. Maybe Fernando could sit here and say, oh my God, I remember when such and such wrestled such and such, and they had a 50-minute match. You know what? It's okay that we all like different things. Because at the end of the day, we're all wrestling fans and something attracts us more. Fernando, I have a question, though. I have a question for you. My question for you is, which do you prefer more? Do you prefer to watch AEW because they give 5-star matches? Or do you prefer WWE because they have compelling storylines and sometimes they'll give you a 5-star match? That's what I'm curious in. Fernando says, as a wrestling fan of in-ring, wrestling rejecting 5-star matches will never make sense to me. I think, so when you're looking at Dave Meltzer, right, and he's giving away 5-star matches, he's giving away 5-star matches, in my opinion, based on the technicality in the ring. When I'm looking at a 5-star match, I'm looking at the emotion of, Fernando said he's a proud sicko. I'm looking at the feelings. Like when you ask me my greatest match of all time, you guys know I was on Fan versus Hater, the one John Cena, Hater versus 10 John Cena fans. I was on that. And somebody asked, the Macho-verse asked, name one of the top 10 John Cena matches of all time. And the match that I thought of, in my head, on the fly, there's no script. That show is not scripted. You legit sit there and you just talk back and forth to each other. The match that I mentioned was John Cena versus Triple H in Saudi Arabia. Why? Some people are probably like, why in the hell would you pick that match? And I'm telling you, for me, it's the moments in the match. As a semi-retired pro wrestler, you saw Triple H in the ring with John Cena, and they were calling the match in the ring. They didn't stay in the back and talk about everything. What they decided that they were going to do was just go out there and just make it happen and just feel the crowd. That is what they decided to do. That's why I like that match. Okay, so Fernando answers the question. He says, I'm a sicko who still watches WWE content. I just enjoy AEW more. That's fine. That's fine. Okay. And I guess that kind of proves my point when I'm saying that people are more interested in AEW in the actual match. You know, in WWE, I think in WWE, you're just getting a TV show. You're getting a soap opera. You're getting Law & Order SVU, except they just do wrestling in there. We got, let's see, we got a new person in the chat. The name is Will Rail Sports. Hi, John Cena calls his matches in the ring. You can see him tell his opponents what to do. Yeah, I love that. You know, for me, that was something I did in the ring too. I liked to call my matches in the ring. You know, sometimes you got to listen to the crowd and it's like, you know what? The crowd is not there yet. You hold on to the headlock and you say, just a second, we're not ready to go yet. Start stomping your feet on the mat and maybe we can get the fans to go. And then as the fans start going, the fans start clapping, I would say, okay, let's go. Hey, he says he's from the UK. Hey, welcome to the UK. And Wilro Sport 1 says he just subbed.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. I appreciate your joining the community here. I'm Tristan. You know, we're normally live at 12 p.m. noon Eastern. So I don't know what time that is in the UK, but it might be 5 p.m. in the evening. If it might be 5 p.m. in the evening for you in the UK, but whatever it is, 12 p.m. New York time. That is when we are live normally. We'll be back on Friday. Me and my co-host Jess, the Yapton. We're going to be talking about Saturday night's main event and all that other stuff. So glad you joined the family. You know, have fun, have a drink, take off your coat, and hang out for a while. We're talking about Matt Hardy and what he said that TNA should do going forward. You know, the thing, though, is that when you look at Matt Hardy's philosophy, he says over-delivering becomes under-delivering. Fans need emotional anchors. You need something to tie to. Let me tell you something. Everything is based on emotion. When you decide that you're going to pay somebody money, it's emotion. I talked about Balls Mahoney, right? I talked about Balls Mahoney just a little bit, saying that, you know, his family, Balls Mahoney has passed on. He's been passed away for maybe 10 years now, I'm not sure. But I left a link in the description of this video for if anybody wants to donate, go ahead and donate $1. His widow, she's currently in a wheelchair, and his son Chris, who's in that photo, is getting ready to graduate high school and they're facing homelessness. Why did I post the link? Emotion. I knew Balls Mahoney. I wrestled Balls Mahoney, and it hit me in the emotion so much that I said, you know what? Let me go ahead and use my voice for good and give it to you guys so that maybe you guys can go ahead and donate, because you guys may not know that it exists. You guys may say, you know what? My emotional anchor is that we like Tristan. Tristan's a good guy. You know what? I only got $5. Let me go ahead and give $5 to that cause. I'm not asking you, or, you know, I'm just giving you the suggestion. The link is in the description if that's something that you want to do. We need emotional anchors. Everything is tied to emotion. right? Sometimes we lose control of our emotions, right? Because of we're in emotional environments. Everything is tied to emotion. We are emotional people, emotional animals, emotional creatures. You know what? I'm saying as a WWE fan, right? Because I grew up in the Northeast, that WWE really ties into the emotion when it comes to the storytelling. I'm going to back somebody up like Fernando. Maybe, I see your question, Will, I'm coming. Maybe somebody that watches AEW, maybe their emotional investment is in, you know what? That was a really good match. Like Daniel Bryan really went out there, or Bryan Danielson really went out there and put on that 5-star special. I've never seen a match that great in my life. Fernando said that Macho Man wrote and rehearsed Ricky Steamboat versus Savage at WrestleMania 3, and it's one of the greatest matches ever. You know what, Fernando? Yeah. The thing is that, yes, there are some of the greatest matches ever that were rehearsed, right? But the thing that I learned about wrestling in a match that's rehearsed is that what if somebody gets hurt? Or what if they tell you, hey, you know what? We're short on time. You need to shorten your match. So now you're scrambling. Oh my God, well, I plan to do this. I plan to do that. Because you come into the ring and you're freestyling. And don't think it's a complete freestyle. You know what the finish is. You know how you're going to probably start the match. You're probably going to cut the guy off. But everything else in between, you just make it up. You just feel it when you go out there. Will says that Matt Hardy had a feud with Dax Harwood today. You see that back and forth? Had an X feud with Dax Harwood today. You see that back and forth? Nah, not yet. I didn't go on X yet. But you can always follow me on Threads at The Real Big Tris. That's where I am. He asked, do I watch WWE or AEW? So I watch, it's a real good question. I watch WWE a lot, only because I grew up in New York. That was the first pro wrestling that I ever grew up on. And as I grew older, I started watching WCW. My sister's father had the VHSs of the pay-per-views. And then I would watch, then I became like a wrestling addict as a teenager. I would watch ECW late at night when I was supposed to be sleeping. I would watch wrestling in Spanish. And no, I don't speak Spanish, but I grew up in the Bronx. If you ask me how much Spanish I speak, I'm going to tell you poquito. Not taquito, not coquito, but poquito. And I would just find wrestling anywhere. So do I watch AEW? I watch it, but I wouldn't say that I'm a fan of it. I do promise in 2026, I'm going to buy a ticket and go to AEW because AEW seems to be the cheapest show in town. AEW seems to be the people that are not beating us in the head anymore, and WWE is beating us in the head. I don't know. Something I maybe need to look at. So, for newer fans, right? Here's an explanation for newer fans. The Hardy brand, Jeff Hardy, Matt Hardy, they're tied to moments. There's not one, I guess, 5-star match that they had because it was a technical showcase. Not at all. I think that any match that Jeff and Matt Hardy ever had, it was tied in moments. Final Deletion, TLC 1, the Triangle Ladder match. All those matches right there, they're just tied in. They're tied in moments. They're tied in moments. So, what Matt Hardy is proposing, understand this. It's not anti-wrestling. It's anti-saturation. But here is the question you have to ask yourself. But is he right? Fernando says that Hogan was trash in the ring, but understood moments better than anyone.
Yeah!
Hogan was not the Hulk Hogan, the late Hulk Hogan, was not the best wrestler by any means whatsoever. Everybody complains that John Cena only had 5 moves of doom. What was Hulk Hogan's match? Let's see. The Hulk up, the leg drop, the big boot, tearing off the shirt. What else is there to Hulk Hogan, right? Hulk Hogan understood making the moments. If you ask me, two of Hogan's biggest moments, I can pull off the top of my head right now, I'm getting goosebumps right now thinking about it, is when he body slammed Andre the Giant at WrestleMania 3 and Bash at the Beach 96 when he was the third man and joined the NWO. Anybody ever remember a Hulk Hogan match that was a 5-star match? I don't think that. Okay, maybe The Rock and Hogan at WrestleMania 18 in Toronto at the Sky Dome. But that wasn't a 5-star match because of technicality. That was a 5-star match because of the story and the energy and the emotion going to that match. Like Fernando said, the slam heard around the world. Yeah. I wasn't old enough to appreciate it. But when I understood how monumental that was, Andre the Giant getting slammed in the Pontiac Sky Dome by Hulk Hogan is just as big as Babe Ruth hitting a home run in baseball and winning the World Series for the Yankees. Andre the Giant getting body slammed and beaten by Hulk Hogan at the Pontiac Sky Dome at WrestleMania 3 is just as big as Michael Jordan winning the NBA playoffs or the finals or whatever it was when he had the flu. Big moments in wrestling. Nobody says, oh, well, Michael Jordan had a really good jump shot that night and he was able to jump in the air and 10 feet off the ground and he was able to pivot his body. No. You say the moment that you remember, the story that they told going into that match was that Jordan was sick. How is Jordan going to play when he's sick? You watch the game just to see when he was sick and how he played. And that guy played a damn good game. Fernando said, would you consider Hart versus HBK Iron Man match success based on wrestling or moments? You're talking about, what was that, WrestleMania 11? And I might be WrestleMania 11. Somebody fact check me. Shawn Michaels versus HBK for the Iron Man match. I might be 11, right? Or 12. Because 10, Shawn Michaels wrestled for the Intercontinental Championship. That was in Madison Square Garden. He wrestled Razor Ramon in the ladder match. So it might be 11. That match, Shawn Michaels versus HBK, it was 12. Okay, 12. Thank you. That match, I don't think that match had one good moment in the match. I guess the only good moment in the match is when they went to a sudden death because they were tied at the end. But I think that match, though, is a showcase in stamina and telling a long-term story. I had to, in my opinion, wrestle a 2 out of 3 falls match. And that was the match where I went because I said, you know what? A 2 out of 3 falls match is the same thing like an Iron Man match, except that you have, the pinfalls. And Iron Man match is a 2 out of 3 falls match. Get as many pinfalls as you can in X amount of time. So I watched that match just to see how they paced themselves. And wrestling's all about pacing. They didn't come out there and run 20 miles per hour and then in the end, jog. They jogged in the beginning, they sprinted in the middle, and then they ran in the end. To me, that's not a moment. To me, that's storytelling. That's storytelling. That's what makes me love the wrestling. I mean, not storytelling. I meant the technicality. For me, I love that match. That's why I love wrestling. I get a little bit of storytelling in that match, and I got a little bit of the technicality. I didn't appreciate the match with Shawn Michaels at HBK at WrestleMania 12 until I became a wrestler. When I was young, yeah, that was nice. Yeah, that was nice. But when you understand the technicalities and what goes into actually making a match really good, look, man, that's the match right there. But is Matt Hardy right? You see, like, AMC, the channel where TNA is going, their own press release emphasized stories, characters, and drama. And matches weren't even mentioned. You see, like TNA is historically thrived. TNA has done really good in the past when they had characters that mattered. Listen to me when I'm talking to you guys. TNA had a freaking shark, a man in a shark costume running around. There was a man in a shark costume running around in TNA. Now, he wasn't the greatest wrestler of all time, but I tell you, they had a guy running around in a shark costume. They had Broken Universe, Matt Hardy. They had the Main Event Mafia, Aces and Eights. They had the X Division Arcs. When you're looking at TNA, and I'm talking about, I was going to TNA way back in the day when I lived in Orlando. You had the casual fan versus hardcore fans, they divide. Casual fans might remember moments. Sting returning, Hardy, the whole entire deletion things. Hardcore fans, they may chase star ratings. And you know what's the honest to God truth when it comes to that whole entire thing? Freaking TNA had a guy run around in a shark costume. That's not the answer. The honest to God thing, though, is that it doesn't matter if you're a hardcore fan, if you're a casual fan, if you're a fan that chases the ratings, or if you're a fan that chases the moments. You know what? Pro wrestling is universal. We all speak the same exact language. It doesn't matter if you speak English, if you speak Spanish, if you don't speak at all because you have some kind of, challenge. We all watch wrestling. We're all here for the same exact thing. It's a family. But when you're looking at moments, though, moments equal virality, equal new eyeballs for AMC. The story first approach is cost effective. It's brand defining, and it differentiates TNA a lot from AEW and a little bit from WWE. Fernando mentioned the Boogeyman. Yeah. Oh, bro, did I ever tell you my story about the Boogeyman? The Boogeyman is a straight up character, straight up gimmick. The Boogeyman is a straight up gimmick and a character that would never work in AEW at any time. Don't ask me what the Boogeyman is, but I can tell you that he's freaky and he's creepy. I wrestled a show in Pennsylvania, and Boogeyman was there. Really nice guy, Boogeyman. And we're sitting in the back and we're chopping it up. He's like, all right, I'm going to go out there for a little bit. And I go sign autographs like intermission. He goes, I'll be right back. I think I wrestled Marty Jannetty, Shawn Michaels' old tag team partner. So I said, all right, no problem. So there's a cooler in the back. I thought it was a community cooler. And in that community cooler, I expected it to be maybe a bottle of water, maybe a Diet Pepsi. At the time, I drank diet soda. Now I just drink regular soda. Love orange soda. Who loves orange soda? I do. Is it true? I do. I opened the cooler, and you would not believe what was in the cooler. Worms!
Yeah!
Worms! There was worms in the cooler. You know what I learned? Don't open the cooler. Don't open the cooler. I opened the cooler because Boogeyman has a thing where he eats worms. Look, to each their own, right? The guy ate the worms, and I opened the cooler thinking I was going to find a drink, and there was freaking worms swimming around the whole thing. And I was the only one that experienced that. Fernando says that crushed orange soda is the GOAT. Nah, brother. Nah, not at all. It's orange Fanta all the way. All the way orange Fanta is good. Fernando says that Taker's the best wrestling character in the history of wrestling, no matter what company. You know what? I will challenge you with that. The best wrestling character, Fernando, in any company is also Kane. Because when Kane came out, when Kane debuted, Kane is the brother of The Undertaker. When Kane debuted, Undertaker was just more than the dead guy. He had an extra layer to him. You were able to see him be emotional, and you had somebody that could finally put him in danger. So I say, look, without Kane, what would Undertaker just be? Would he have just fizzled out? I don't know. Fernando said Giant Gonzalez back in the day. Bruh, really? Fernando says that Suicide was just a video game character at first in TNA. Yeah, he was. He was. Running around the red mask, white face, all that stuff. Yeah, he was. Thank you guys so much for your comments. And you guys know that you can call me at any time, leave a message. If the message is great, I'll put it on the show. 973-826-0101. I'll call and if I see your message and it's fire, I'm like, you know what? Next show we're going to play that message and we're going to talk about it. If you want to email me, TristanLawShowMedia@gmail.com. I make myself easy and accessible to you because we're building a community here, right? I'm not building a cult to where you guys just listen to me. We exchange ideas. Like, Stu emails me at TristanLawShowMedia@gmail.com, and I talk about his channel. Stu has his own channel. It's called Stu's View. If you go to this channel, to the main page, and you go all the way down to the bottom, I've added Stu as a friend of the show. Go ahead and check out Stu's channel. It's different. If you like wrestling, go see what Stu is doing. It's different. It's not like what everybody else is out here doing. It's not like me. Stu's different. And I welcome all of you guys that want to start a pro wrestling channel. Start a channel. Ask me what it's like. You need help? I'm not gatekeeping. Ask me if you need help. TristanLawShowMedia@gmail.com. Don't get crazy now. You start asking for a little bit too much, you might have to send a check. I'm half kidding. But we're still talking about Matt Hardy and what he said about TNA being able to tell storytelling. I got a poll going on. The poll that I'm asking is, what should TNA focus on in 2026? Right now, it is a tie. The choices are, what should TNA focus on in 2026? Whatever gets new fans in, that has 0%. 5-star matches, that has 20%. And the two-way tie is between storytelling and a balance of both. 5-star matches and storytelling. So yeah. So some people feel that storytelling is what they should focus on, and some people feel that it should be a balance of both. You know, I don't think that either is wrong. It's your opinion. But for me, I want to see a little more storytelling. I want to see more moments. I want to see another Joe Hendry. Joe Hendry had to go to WWE because there wasn't, in my opinion, I don't think there was an ecosystem for him to survive in TNA. I don't think that somebody like Joe Hendry would be able to survive in AEW. He would be fun, but they already have a guy like Orange Cassidy there. It probably wouldn't work. But there's a whole other side to this whole thing, right? Because Silva, he says that we want to be ourselves, not AEW. But there's a whole other side to this, and the internet absolutely let him have it. Yeah, Matt Hardy went out there and said what he had to say, and people didn't like it. He got a little fan criticism on Reddit and social media. Some people say Matt Hardy's out of touch. Some people say that they claim he doesn't want to keep up with modern athleticism. So because he's older, he doesn't want to keep up with modern athleticism. It's better to do the storytelling. Some people fear that focusing on story equals lazy wrestling, or a 2005 Impact cosplay. I mean, there's a counter argument out there. AEW's big matches do spikes in engagements. High match quality brings attention, gifts, buzz, etc. Could TNA fall behind if they don't keep up? Those are the questions that I'm asking myself. That's the counter argument right then and there. I don't think that Matt Hardy's out of touch. Matt Hardy is from an environment, the WWE, to where he knows what works. In the WWE, you need to be a little bit more. No. In WWE, you need to be a lot of more than a good wrestler. That is why some people can't thrive in the WWE. Because yeah, you show up with your nice wrestling, but you need to show up with more than wrestling. What is your personality? Who are you? Right? What do you bring to the table? How are you going to make people open up their pockets? Because if you want great wrestlers, the WWE has a bunch of great wrestlers. Okay, a handful of great wrestlers. Okay, they have great wrestlers. but you got to show up with a little bit more. So I don't think it's Matt Hardy being out of touch. And I don't think that it's not him not wanting to keep up with modern athleticism. I don't think that it's lazy wrestling as well. Because if you're getting the people to pay their money, you're doing your job. AEW, look, AEW does what they do. They have their willow sprays. They have their, I don't know, whoever else they got over there doing good wrestling, right? That's what brings their fans to the yard. That's what gets their fans to come up off their wallets and give their money. There's nothing wrong with that. Am I an AEW fan? I don't hate AEW. I don't want AEW to go anywhere. What I want to do in the future in 2026, I'm going to make an effort to go to one AEW show in person and see how I like it. I don't know. I went to an AEW show back in the TNA show back in the day, and that's how I sit here in front of you now. Fernando says, what about Timeless Tony in AEW? Yeah, she's a whole entire gimmick. But, you know, in AEW, the fans don't show up for a bunch of gimmicks, in my opinion. They show up for the good matches. Timeless Tony Storm, she do real well in WWE. Well, she was there before. But instead of going to AEW and trying to be a great wrestler, just come on to be a great character. People love great characters. She comes out there, the screen's in black and white, all that. That's what makes her difference. The question that I'm asking you guys, can TNA fall behind if they don't keep up? Could TNA fall behind if they don't keep up? Tell me that in the comments, because I'm interested in what you think. The question I'm asking you is, could TNA fall behind if they don't keep up? I like to hear what you guys have to say. I know there's a lot of you guys watching who are not saying anything, and that's fine. Maybe you're at work. Maybe you're watching on your TV. Tell me, could TNA fall behind if they don't keep up? Let me give you a second. I'm going to drink this water. Fernando says, WWE will not allow them to fall behind. You see, you know what?
Thank you.
Thank you for that, Fernando. I feel from where TNA was to where they were to where they are now, they've got beaten up so much that they just know, it's one of those things of like, you might have gotten to a fight when you were a kid. You got punched in the face one time, and you said, you know what? I don't like that. I'm never going to get punched in the face again. TNA didn't get punched in the face. They got punched in the face. They got stomped out. They got kicked. They got choked. They got everything. TNA should not exist anymore. The only reason, tell me if I'm wrong, the only reason that AEW exists is because when WCW closed and got bought by WWE, when ECW was acquired, the intellectual property by the WWE, and ECW was no more, there was a void. There was a void that needed to be filled. And TNA came along, and they were slowly filling that void. But then they lost themselves trying to be like somebody else. So then what happened was wrestling fans started going international. Wrestling fans started going to New Japan, All Japan, all that. That's where they all started going, because they didn't just want WWE. They want to go someplace to where they can get a good match. So you know what happens? AEW comes along, and by this time, TNA is way down in the dumps. TNA who? TNA comes out, AEW comes out and becomes the number 2 company, and bumps TNA to the 3rd. So it was WWE, AEW, and TNA. There's no reason that AEW should have came along and bumped TNA to number 3. But it's what happened. It's what happened. I think that the only reason that AEW exists today is because there was a void created, and the void just became bigger over the years. There just had to be an AEW. If WCW was still around, and I think the same thing would have happened if WCW had bought WWE. There would have been no WWE. You know what WWE could have done? The same exact thing they're doing now. WWE has learned from their lesson. When they bought WCW, what did they do? Just absorb the whole entire thing. What should they have done, if you ask me? Maybe run another show? They should have kept WCW alive one way or another and have it still do shows on Monday nights, Tuesday nights, whatever it may be. Maybe money was an issue. I don't know. I'm just freestyling. I wasn't sitting there in the room. But with I wonder if that's one of the biggest regrets that WWE has. Vince McMahon and his cohorts have. I'm not talking about all the stuff that he allegedly did with the woman. I'm talking about when Vince McMahon bought WCW. Was that a regret? That Vince McMahon had to work twice as hard? Because there are a lot of wrestling fans that stopped watching when WCW went out of business. Some people say the wrestling just wasn't good anymore. Fernando says that TNA was on the right track, but Hogan and Eazy-E ruined everything. Yeah, I agree. You watch TNA from 06, 07, 06, 05. They had the six-sided ring. The only place you saw the six-sided ring was in Lucha Libre. So they brought the six-sided ring to America. Hogan came in, Bischoff came in, went to a traditional ring with four sides. Fernando says that the wrestling community has been predicting the demise of TNA for forever, and they're still here. Look, brother, there's a time that TNA was on life support. There's a time that we are sitting here now and we're like, wow, how is TNA still here? Could TNA fall behind if they don't keep up? Yeah, but I don't think they want to fall behind this time. Nah, not at all. Not at all. They've took their licks. They know what it's like. TNA has tasted their own blood. They're not going to go taste their own blood again. Can Story Forest coexist with high-level in-ring? Yeah. They're doing it already. This gives TNA the opportunity to slowly rebrand themselves and figure out their identity. I think that was the issue with AEW. The first 5 years, AEW was trying to figure out who they were. They had a lot of us watching from the WWE, and eventually we said, you know what? Some of us said, that's not for us. A lot of us said, you know what? I don't even like WWE anymore. Some people said, you know, I'm just going to watch both. Story first could coexist with high-level in-ring. John Alba, he challenged Hardy directly on this in a podcast. What happens if storytelling is bad? I'll tell you. The matches suffer and stories don't land. If you can't convey, imagine watching a movie where they're telling you a story and the story is just horrible. Like watching like one of those B level movies, right? C level movies, whatever. You go on Tubi, you pick a movie of the day. You go on Pluto, you pick a movie of the day, a movie you never heard of, like Titanic 2. That's a real movie. Titanic 2. Save yourself the trouble. Don't watch it. In Titanic 2, there's a whole scene in the beginning. Yeah, I watched it. There's a scene where a person is surfing in the ocean. It has nothing to do with the entire movie. But if you're watching a movie and the movie is not telling the story right, the moments don't land because you're not emotionally invested. The scenes in the match, they suffer. Pro wrestling is the purest form of storytelling. When I teach pro wrestling to people, I teach them using the Lion King. I don't have enough time to go ahead and explain that to you tonight. But if you ask me some other time, and I have time, I'll explain to you how I tie the Lion King to pro wrestling. But the short version of it, without me going into detail, because we don't have time, I want you to go watch AEW, is there's a formula. Every story follows a formula. And once you understand that formula, you can manipulate the formula and do anything you want. So if the storytelling is bad, the matches are going to suffer, and the stories, they don't land. So where does that leave us, especially going into the AMC era? I don't know, we're going to call it the AMC era? I think, this is my expert take as a semi-retired pro wrestler. Emotional storytelling is universal. Moves are tools. They're nice. They're nice. Headlock. Arm bar. They're all nice. They're nice. They're nice. But it's not the story itself. I can teach anybody to do moves. I can pick any one of you in the chat that watch any of the 800 some odd subscribers on the channel. We're growing. And teach you guys how to do moves. But can you take those moves and put them in a story to make them make sense? You know, a pro wrestling match is not Raw versus SmackDown. Not Raw versus, what do you call it now? A pro wrestling match is not WWE 2K25. It's not. WWE 2K25, you start punching, kicking, you put the guy in a headlock, the match is done in 5 minutes. Don't get it wrong. Sometimes in WWE, in pro wrestling, you may only get 5 minutes to tell the story. But when you're wrestling in a match that has weapons, I hate wrestling in a match that has weapons. And the first thing the opponent says, all right, so we're going to go ahead and grab the chair. If we have a 15-minute match, they schedule us for 15 minutes. And the first thing that we do is grab the chairs and hit each other over the head. What are we going to do in minute 15? We're going to have to pull guns out and pew, pew, each other. You got to work up to everything. The storytelling for me is everything. I think that TNA's blueprint forward, use AMC's cinematic power to build characters. Characters are everything. Characters are... One of the things that I did when I wrestled full-time was that I wanted to be the person that you remembered. And the way that I was the person that you remember was that I tried to be a character. I tried to be somebody that's like, you know what? That guy there, he an a-hole. I'm not saying that I was not a good wrestler. If you ask a lot of my peers, they would tell you that I was a damn good wrestler. But I want to be a better storyteller because of the people I idolized. Triple H, Randy Orton, Edge, great storytellers in the ring. I think they should give the X Division freedom, but with purpose. Make moments the signature of the brand. You know, WWE does it. Moment of the week. You know, just to give you for last week. You know, here's the SmackDown moment of, last week's SmackDown moment of the night. They're building moments. I think what they need to do is keep the match quality high when it matters, but not for everything. Not every match needs to be going out there trying to be a 5-star match. This whole entire thing is TNA's chance to define itself for the next decade. And here is the real question. Are they bold enough to go all in on a brand new identity? All right, let's land this plane because we've been up in the air for a while now. We've been up here for a while. At the end of the day, wrestling doesn't survive on star ratings. It survives on emotion. And whether you agree with Matt Hardy or you think he's just living in the past, one thing is undeniable. TNA's move to AMC is the biggest identity shift they've had in over a decade. So the real question isn't, are 5-star matches important? The real question is, what is going to make fans care? What is going to make you care in 2026? That's what it is. Alex says, I kind of agree with Matt. I kind of agree with Matt as well, too. Give him the opportunity to go ahead and try something different. Well, next episode is Friday at noon. It's for Saturday night's main event preview show. I'll be here with Jess the Captain. That's what's going to be happening. Hey, call me, 973-826-0101. Email me, TristanLawShowMedia@gmail.com. I'm Tristan Law. This is the Tristan Law Show, and thanks so much for watching, guys. And I'll see you next time.
Flashing red lights, driving at night.